Sometimes the path is not all that clear, but you have to trust in the process. It'll get you where you want to go. So, discipline plus process generally equals success, but you can't really, you have to get into the process itself has to be the success. Like, and by the process, it's just a matter of breaking down a long-term goal into smaller chunks, and those chunks have to be manageable. So you can have a giant goal. So for example, who am I? I'm a random blue-collar worker that lives in Alaska, born and raised. How nice this is. Pretty sweet front yard, if there ever was one. Blue-collar worker who is currently obsessed with creating generational wealth for myself and my family, but that hasn't always been like that. Previous lifetimes, my younger self, I was first and foremost obsessed with skiing mountains. These mountains, actually, that you can see, all these mountains, skiing on them. And the process would be like, I want to be the best. The goal would be, I want to be the best skier in the world, whatever that is. The process was going skiing every single day, no matter what. Good snow, bad snow, good lights, storms, conditions, whatever, it didn't matter. Went every single day. I got real good at it. Real good being, I mean, I was top 5 in the world 5 times. What does that mean? It's figure skating, doesn't matter. I was in a different life. But I took that ability to learn and get good through process, to get good through other things. I then got good at downhill biking, then I got good at surfing. But in the meanwhile, I also had a family to raise, so I had to learn to get good at goddamn construction. It was never, as a kid, I was never super stoked on it. And then I learned to like it, because then you look at the process of a giant house or a giant building. Hope this wind's not too bad. You look at the plans, you see this final picture, like, oh, I gotta get this house done. 2 years down the way it's gonna take. But you have to break it up into micro steps, which would be every single day. This nail goes here, that screw goes there, that board goes there. And then you have to find the perfection in the process. You have to do that one little piece of the puzzle perfectly. And it's easy to do a tiny thing perfectly. Drive this nail, perfect, easy. Put that wall there, make it perfect, easy. And in the end, you have a big perfect house made up of a bunch of tiny perfect parts. Because you can't say, I'm gonna do this big perfect house at the end, you know, you gotta break it up. Another way to work through the process is to ask yourself, if this was easy, what would it look like? Like, it might be some hard, daunting thing. It might actually be hard, but you said, if this was easy. So you can trick yourself into be like, oh, if this was easy, what would it look like? So you can take some insurmountable, difficult thing and break it into parts, like running a marathon. That's difficult. If this was easy, what would it look like? Oh, it'd be like one step in front of the other. So the process of running a marathon might be, oh, I'm going to run 20 miles. We can't say that up front because that sounds hard. So you're like, oh, I'm going to do 5 miles at a time. Like, oh, you can further break down 1 mile at a time. And the harder it gets, as you get more tired, you have to break it down further and further. So all of a sudden you're doing 1 step at a time, 1 breath at a time. You're breaking it into these micro steps. And if you do 1 step, and 1 step, and 1 step, you know, keeps on going. And then the greatest cure for any fear in the doing this would be action. You know, I'm afraid how tired I'm going to be when I get to the end of the marathon. Because it's gonna be fucking sucky, but it doesn't matter. You take the action of the next step. What's the next step? The next step, and you make that step perfect. Pretty soon you're getting there. Who am I even talking about this? I'm like a blue-collar worker, like I said, working construction. Who's actually really good at skiing, and Bobo agrees. But I'm midway on my path. Like, I've tipped the domino on my path to generational wealth just recently. That being 2 years ago. September 2021, I said I want to be worth $2 million in 2 years, which would be coming up in 2 months. And I'm on path. I'll be about November. That being having the house finished. I'm building a house over in Hawaii that's going to be worth $600,000-700,000 when it's done. That combined with my other real estate will be about $2 million. So I'm about to hit that goal. My next goal, and as they say, the longer your time horizons, the more likely you are to achieve success. Pushing the 10 years, so I'm like, okay, if I can do 10 mil in 10 years, but that almost doesn't seem like enough. Like, it seems easy. I'm like, wait a minute, if I can do 2 mil in 2 years, it doesn't add up. So how would we say 20 mil in 10 years? mostly through real estate. And that's the beauty, because most of my generational wealth creation is going through real estate, but I have my side hustles being pro skiing, house building, father, husband, internet person, YouTuber. I like YouTubing. It's fun to be creative and get outside of being just a goddamn production monkey. Because if any of you blue collar workers out there know, you've already got the discipline. I already know you do, because I'm that person. If you can get up at freaking 6 in the morning every day and go work 6 10s on a construction site with a bunch of drunk, grumpy assholes, you can do anything. It's fucking easy. That's the hardest part. On top of that, that's when I got into running, because that was already the hardest part. You can be grumpy because of it. I decided to make running the hardest part of my day. So no matter what I was doing at work, going for a run was the fucking hardest part. So everything was easy. So if I'm dragging ass at work the next day, I'm like, man, why am I tired? Oh, I'm grumpy I'm tired because I ran 10 miles last night after work. Because you can get grumpy if you're tired from work. That's called workaholic, and that's a good way to get grumpy and burned out. So I doubled up. It seems counterintuitive, but I doubled up my actual effort, and psychologically everything became easier. And you can do it too. Anyone can do it. That's my whole thing. I've been saying for fucking ever. Skiing these mountains, anyone can actually do it. Look at them. You just go right up there, walk. There's a trail up that mountain. I cut a trail up that mountain. There's a mountain, there's a mountain, there's a mountain. Look at all these mountains. And climbing a mountain's the surest way to create confidence in order to get shit done. Finally, how can I make this better? When you walk into a room, when you walk into a situation, ask yourself, how can I make this better? It might be as simple as picking up the dirty sock off the floor, doing the 5 dishes, cleaning those dishes in the sink. Like, I used to do to-do lists. I had a stack. I would write a to-do list, and I would actually have big plans. There would be like a year goal, there would be 5-year goals, like real estate, this and that, but I'd have micro goals. I literally would write a micro goal down: do the dishes, do the laundry, shovel the driveway. I would put that on my micro to-do list, go do them, knock them out, so you're collecting wins. That's the whole game, is you're collecting your micro wins. So you look at your to-do list, you're like, oh, I'm killing my to-do list. And then as you're doing those micro jobs, your brain can be percolating on the bigger jobs. And then when you shift your focus back to the bigger jobs, you got 25 wins already that morning. They might be little, they might be easy, but now your bigger one is just that much more attainable. You gotta break it up. It's the power of process. Thanks for watching.